There was a lot of talk in Week 18 with the Baltimore Ravens and Pittsburgh Steelers in a win-or-go-home rivalry matchup for the AFC North. There's spicy talk. There's talk about both coaches. There's a lot at stake here for both these squads.
You are Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Ravens. Welcome into the show. I'm your host, Kevin Ostraker. Ravens Wire here with you on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and now the #1 sports podcast network. Appreciate everybody for being here on this bonus Saturday edition of the show, making Locked On Ravens a part of your day and your first listen each and every single day. And thanks to all the everydayers, the first-time listeners, if you're somewhere in the middle, thank you as well. We have 5 days a week plus more of daily Ravens coverage. And on today's show, we're talking a lot of Ravens Steelers because, well, that's the biggest storyline in Baltimore right now. Win or go home. We'll talk about John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin, a former NFL running back, had a very good for Baltimore prediction about Derrick Henry in this Week 18 game. We'll just talk about big games in general as well. I want to tell everyone that today's episode of Locked On Ravens is brought to you by FanDuel. Before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Here with us today, it is Ravens long snapper Nick Moore returning to the show. And Nick, it's for all the marbles in Week 18. I mean, if you lose this one, you're done. If you win it, you're hosting a home playoff game. So it's very different outcomes, assuming on how this game goes.
Yeah, we're back, baby. Big week this week. Obviously, everything we want to get done with the goals we set out with in August. It all comes down to this 1 week. So, we wouldn't have it any other way. Ravens, Steelers, and Pittsburgh, Sunday Night Football. It's going to be a hell of a game, and excited. Environment's going to be awesome. So, cannot wait for it.
Yeah, I know Marlon said the NFL scriptwriters, they were cooking with this one, and I'm sure the NFL is very pleased that this was the outcome. So shout out to Shedeur Sanders and Myles Garrett and that Cleveland. I know you've talked about it, but were you at the watch party at the John Harbaugh's? Okay, what was that like? What was the reaction?
Oh, it was. I got over there at halftime. I watched first half at my house and got over there, and it was a fun environment. It was very anxious ridden the entire game. Everyone's sitting on the edge of their seat, arguing calls and everything. And it was just fun, like watching the game with the coaches and some of the guys and some of the staffers, and just keep listening to like some of the coaches talk, why'd you run that play, or why'd you do that in this situation, like all the things, and guys are complaining about calls and why, plays that didn't get called and all this stuff. And ultimately it came down to that last play where Ward was able to deflect the ball or get the ball incomplete. It was erupted. The place went crazy. Everyone was jumping up and down, high-fiving people, man. It was a lot of fun to do that and be there with the guys and get to experience that moment together. So, we were very excited, and a huge shout out to the Cleveland Browns and Shedeur and Myles Garrett doing their thing and getting the job done and giving us an opportunity to win this weekend and go to the playoffs.
Yeah, and that was like the entire city of Baltimore literally watching Cleveland, including the team itself. So it was the whole entire organization team. And again, it gives you the opportunity to potentially punch your ticket to the postseason. And again, we know the history, Nick, of this Ravens and Steelers rivalry and what it means and what these games are usually like. And I know that there's been a lot of talk about, both of these teams, and particularly both coaches and John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin. But it seems like in the building, I mean, there's unwavering support for John Harbaugh. We've heard many different players, and even yourself. You've come on the show before and talked about John Harbaugh. There are a lot of conversations about him. And actually, one of your former teammates, and Patrick Queen, talked about both John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin during his press conference earlier this week. And he said, quote, playing for both coaches, those guys are extremely hardworking guys. They care about each and every single player on their team. Every single day, they come in with the best mindset to be able to prepare the team for whatever challenges they face ahead. I think a lot of the criticism is unworthy because a lot of times it's on the players' shoulders of outcomes of games. He said sometimes it's coaching related, but essentially said that the players got to execute is what PQ's message was. And he said, I have nothing but respect for both those coaches. I'm always going to have respect and love for both of those coaches. And Tom Pelissero went on the Rich Eisen show and said, quote, he does not have any indication that John Harbaugh is in danger of being fired or anything like that. He said that would really surprise him. And there's a reason Steve Bisciotti is stuck with him for 18 seasons and running. So there's, again, a lot can happen in this game. And, John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin, I mean, PQ said that both those guys are preparing for this one. They know how important it is. But you playing for John for many years now and being in the building with him, I mean, what do you have to say about him, how he's been this season, kind of the coach that he is? Because I think there are a lot of differing opinions on John right now throughout Baltimore.
Yeah, no, I think for us, he's been the anchor. He's been in the organization now since 2008. So I think this is 17th or 18th season. And, he's been steadfast the entire time. I know he's caught a lot of heat this year, mainly because we've underperformed. And a lot of that has been due to injuries. And, we haven't played we didn't play our best football this season. And that's just the facts. And there's a lot of things we could have done better. And all that being said, we're still in a position to control our destiny. If we win this game right here, we win the division for the third straight year, which would be the first time in organization history. We'll host a home playoff game, and we'll give ourselves a chance to get into the dance and fight to go to the Super Bowl. So, a lot of wrongs can be right, be right this weekend. And I think that a lot of times, the guy on top of the mountain's the one that catches most of the criticism. And, that's kind of comes with the territory of being the head coach and haven't been in the same position for a long time. We've seen it all over sports. Coaches are there for a long time. I dealt with this at Georgia. I played for Mark Richt my freshman year, and he had gone basically 10-3 for 15 seasons and won a couple SEC championships, never got to the big dance, never was able to win a national championship. And he got fired after going 10-3 in 2015. And, sometimes fans get upset with the consistency or lack thereof. And, I feel like for Harbs, we've only missed the playoffs twice in his 17-year tenure. And, we're fighting for a chance to make it again this year. And, I think I love playing for the guy. That's why I'm here. That's why I wanted to stay here. Hopefully I can stay here for a long time and finish my career out with Coach, because I got a tremendous amount of respect for him. He's one of the hardest working people I've ever met in my entire life. And that guy works out in the gym. I think he's 63 years old this year, and he's in the gym every day at 5:45. And it's one of those things that you can never question his work ethic and his care, because that dude loves football. He loves the guys on the team. He loves the people in the building. He's genuinely nice to all of us, and he's been a great mentor and leader for a lot of guys that have come through this organization. And they really do a great job of developing players and keeping people in house, and they really care about the standard that we have here in Baltimore. And I have a ton of respect for him, and I think sometimes it's a tough job being the head coach, and I think he knows that, and he handles that all well, and does a fantastic job with that. So I'm just excited for this opportunity that we have here. I was at his house for the watch party, and you could feel he was the one who was he was like hiding, didn't want to watch the game. He was like, popping back and forth, talking to people. And he was the most nervous out of everybody. And cause he just cares that much, and he wants to win, and he loves the game of football, and he wants to just play, and he wants to play in meaningful games. And this is what it's all about. Comes down to this game here. And I think, we win this game here. It changes a lot of things, and nobody knows what the future holds. All we can do is control where we're at right now and do the best that we can with the opportunity that we're given. And right now it's just one game at a time. We got to go win this game in Pittsburgh.
And you mentioned the regular season consistency. I mean, I think, Nick, a lot of teams would do a lot of things to have that regular season consistency. But I know for you guys and for the organization, for the fan base, for everybody in Baltimore, I know the goal is not just to make the postseason and then, get eliminated. So I know that you guys are taking this as an opportunity to say, hey, the season's been a weird one this year, but there is still there's hope that you can win this game, get to the postseason. And then at that point, everything kind of resets. You're all 0-0, and you just kind of got to go on a run there. And it's not about which team plays the best during the regular season. It's about which team can get hot. It's which team can get hot at the right time, which is the big thing.
Yep. We've seen that time and time again, man. It's about who's hot at the right time. It's about who's playing the best football down the stretch and into the playoffs. And I feel like we've played some really good football as of late, and I feel really good with where we're at. And we got another coming off a great win in Green Bay, and we got a big test this weekend, but I think we're going to be ready for the challenge.
Yeah, it's the opportunity of a lifetime. I mean, these are the stakes, and I'm sure that these are the types of games you probably dreamed of when you were going through high school,
Mhm.
college of like, this is elimination. This is our opportunity. And like, you get an
Mhm.
opportunity to go out there and do it against the team that is this team's biggest rival. You know,
Yeah.
it's, I think, what a lot of Ravens fans wanted. Like, and I think when everybody saw that Pittsburgh game in week 18 on the schedule, right when the schedule came out, I mean, my
Mhm.
reaction was, oh, I know this game's going to mean something.
Yeah.
And
You
here we
just
are.
always. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We could have both been 11-5, 11-5 or 12-4. Like this game, no matter what, it's going to come down. In my entire career here, I feel like every time we play them at the end of the season, it's meaningful. We did it in 2021. They got the better of us. We had a chance to go to the postseason there, didn't win, didn't make the playoffs. And then last year, going up against them in week 16, I think it was, and then again in the first round of the playoffs. This is just, I mean, this is what the sport's all about. You want to play against the best team, in the biggest moment to win the division. This is what they write the scripts for. And this is what we wanted. I know there's been a lot of stuff that we haven't, we could have done better here. We could have done better there. All that being said, we're still right where we have an opportunity to achieve the goal that we set out to achieve in August, is win the division, get into the playoffs. We're gonna be a 4 seed. We're gonna host the playoff game. Like that's what it's all about. And we're in a position now to do that. So we're ready for the challenge, and it's gonna be a good one.
I'm excited for it. I know you guys are too. And coming up, we'll talk about how this rivalry continues to be spicy, but still, I think, with a very good level of respect. So stay tuned. A lot coming up here on Locked On Ravens. Nobody knows your money goals better than you. Robinhood puts you in control of your money with tools that work as hard as you do, locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again, channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself. Expect more from your money. Get started today. Robinhood.com/your money. Again, that's Robinhood.com/your money. Your money, your move. Back on Locked On Ravens, Kevin Oestreicher and Nick Moore still rocking out with you here on this Saturday edition of the show. Thanks again for being here on Locked On Ravens. Ravens have a big one tomorrow, Sunday night, against the Steelers. Actually, Nick, have you ever played in Pittsburgh on a night game before?
No, this is my
Okay.
first one. I've had a couple at like 4. I think my NFL debut was a 3:30 Wednesday kickoff,
Oh, yeah.
and then 2020, and then
Right.
I want to say my second year in 2021, we played at like 4:25, I think, which is basically a night game in December because the sun goes down at
Right.
4:30, so it's basically a night game. But this is my first official 8 o'clock kickoff in Pittsburgh, in arguably the most electric environment behind the bank,
Yeah.
for a night game. I'm excited for it, man. This is going to be one of the most fun electric games I've ever played in.
Yeah, and actually, I was going to ask you this question later, but since we're on the topic, I'll just do it now. This will be Tyler's first game in Pittsburgh
Hmm.
in his career, and I know that
Yep.
for you guys as a unit, this has been a good year for you guys overall,
Hmm.
and I think Tyler's really
Yep.
stepped up in the moments this season. But playing in Pittsburgh, what do you kind of tell? Because you're the vet in that room now.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
seen some things now. I mean,
Yeah. I've seen a
what's
few.
your message to Tyler about what to expect? How hard of a stadium is Pittsburgh to actually kick in compared to maybe other stadiums around the league? And because I know there are some stories
Yeah.
that have come from Pittsburgh in your time playing.
Yeah. I don't want to say your career gets made or broken on this game, but
Sure.
it definitely helps when you play well in the Pittsburgh rivalry, especially in Pittsburgh. It is very similar to the all 4 stadiums in our division. It's going to be a tough place to kick. The wind is always questionable. You never know what it's going to do. Apparently, they just resodded their field this week, so that's going to be a different. It's going to be different for all of us, not just us. Even Boswell and their unit's going to be dealing with the same stuff. So, I think for Ty, it's like you get into this environment. It is the loudest rockiest place that we play every single season. There's just a different level energy that comes on in this place, especially down the stretch, where we warm up on the sidelines. The bleachers are right there. Like they have like the extended seats like on the field that are like right next
Yeah.
to us. I know a couple years ago, they had Wiz Khalifa sitting there with his posse and they were playing Black and Yellow, and it was just like it was crazy. And they're like literally they're probably like a yard or two away from like where I snapped the ball. So
Wow.
they're just chirping, they're just there the whole time chirping, and it's just a fun environment, man. It's just like this is what you dream of doing going into this place. You've seen the rivalry games over the last 2 decades, and especially with Tomlin and Harbs, they've just been going at each other for 20 years, and these games are gruesome. They're physical wars out there. It's every single play matters. Every single play could make or break the game, and the environment is crazy. And then you get to the fourth quarter and then they play Renegade and they start waving the terrible towels and the place is just bumping. And for me, I love that environment. I'm just like, man, you take it in, because this is the most surreal. It's one of the coolest experiences you're going to get that first time. For me, my first time in Pittsburgh there was only 500 fans, so it wasn't quite as electric. But then the next time I went, I got the full experience, and I was just like, man, it's so much fun being in here. They play the highlight tape of all the Steelers hitting Joe Flacco and lighting up Ray Lewis and all the guys over the years. It's just a fun rivalry. It's a great football game always. And I think the biggest thing for us is just focus on our job, man. It's one play at a time, one kick at a time, one snap at a time. Throughout the entire game, however many times we get called to go out there, we have to execute our job, because anytime you get points on the board, as we've seen over the years, and last year in particular in Pittsburgh, missed a couple field goals, ended up losing by 2. We have to get the points that we can get and do what we have to do for the team so that we can win, give our team the best chance to win the game. And that's our mindset going into it, is just take it one play at a time and execute every opportunity that we get.
I'll never forget. I think it was 2022 when they played Renegade in the fourth quarter. I think it was like Calais and I think
Dude,
Namdi
yeah.
and JPP, where they were going waving the
Yeah.
towels around, and they were like
Dude.
that's what you welcome, right? I mean that's the
is-
competitive environment.
Yeah, that exact so that exact moment is arguably the most memorable moment to me in football, because I don't know if you remember, but we were on the 1 yard line, on our own 1 yard line. Anthony Brown was making his
Yep.
NFL
Yep.
debut as quarterback on the 1 yard line. They're playing that. The place is going absolute bananas, dude. It is like, I mean, the terrible towel. There had to be a million of them out there. It was so loud. It was such a hype environment. And then obviously we got the win in that game, so that was huge for us. And my only win in Pittsburgh. That's the only time we've won since I've been here. And it was just, that is one of the most memorable moments I've ever had in sports. And I'm sure it's going to be the same thing this week. No matter what, this game always comes down to the wire. And that's you wouldn't want it any other way, man. That's just this rivalry football in the NFL, AFC North. It's going to be cold. It's going to be, it's going to be all the things that you expect from an AFC North game. And I cannot wait.
I think it's interesting because you mentioned, doing your job. And obviously that's the easiest way to win a game is, everything goes according to plan. And Joey Porter Jr., who is the Steelers corner, there's been a little spicy talk, not really a ton, but a little. And Joey Porter Jr. was asked about the game and, what they have to do to win. And he said, quote, just being technically sound, seeing our keys, reading the hi-hat, low hat, and just reaching and fitting. If we do that, it's going to be an easy ball game for us. And so I feel like, of course, if you do your job and things go your way, then you're probably going to win the game, right? But I think it's also interesting because, I talked about earlier in the week, Calvin Austin said that he praised the Ravens play as much, man, as that you guys did in the first matchup, although it seems like, according to Mike Tomlin, the tendencies are starting to shift. Joey Porter Jr. also said that there's bad blood. Essentially, it started when he was little because obviously his dad played on the Steelers, and obviously they kind of probably got in him then. But he said he never really liked those guys, meaning you guys, the Ravens. He said, now I have my own rivalry and my own beef and vendetta versus them that we got to sort out. So again, I think that little bulletin board material never hurt anybody. And I know you and I have had this conversation before, but with the Steelers in particular, I think that obviously it's like, we don't like them and they don't like us. But I think that with this rivalry, there is, I think, a lot of respect on both sides for one another, which I think does make it has another element to that rivalry too.
Yeah, I think there's no love lost between the two teams. I would have ventured to guess, and I think at the end of the day, there is a tremendous amount of respect. I mean, you have to appreciate, Coach Tomlin being there for as long as he's been there. Danny Smith, the defensive or the special teams coordinator, has been there as long as he's been there. Cam Hayward's going to be a Hall of Famer. TJ Watt's going to be a Hall of Famer. They have some freaking studs on their team, and they have a great roster, and you have to respect that. And Joey, he's a talented player. I don't watch too much of the defense, because when their defense is on the field, I'm working on the sideline, so I don't pay attention too much to that, the stats of it or whatever. But I know he's a fantastic player. I know his dad was a heck of a player. He's got a little bit of a different story just because he's hated the Ravens for a long time,
Yeah,
and rightfully
right.
so. And that's fine, and that's what the rivalry is supposed to be about. And that comes with the territory. But at the end of the day, both sides are getting paid a lot of money to play football, and you got to be able to execute. And just because you do your job doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be successful. It definitely helps, but you got to beat the man across from you. And yeah, that's the goal for us. That's the plan for us. And we would say the exact same thing that they said. And I don't look at it as bulletin board material, having been potentially bulletin board material for the Steelers myself. I don't know. I don't know how that came about last season, but that's just the way it goes. I think it's, guys get excited. I was victim of it myself, and it's just part of it. And now with the social media and the podcasts and all the stuff that guys do, anything you say could be taken out of context, and it's not necessarily the case.
Sure.
Just for example, what happened last season. I said a lot of good things, and a lot of respect things towards the guys, and I said one comment that was was taken, I guess, the wrong way by some people. And that's just part of it, and that just comes with the new age of sports that we live in. So I'm not going to say anything to get myself in trouble again, because it's always, I told Danny Smith last time we played him, I always enjoy going up against him, because it's such a chess match. They are so unique in what they do on special teams. They have some of the best special teams players in the league. They always tend to do different stuff against us. And for me, it's a fun match, because it really forces me to be at my best. And I've had some of my best games against the Steelers over the years. I've also had some of my worst plays in my career against the Steelers as well, because they are so good. And, it's another challenge for me and the special teams unit, for the whole team, to really go out there. And this is one of the games that anything can happen, because everyone's fighting for their life. Both sides are fighting to play next week, and so they're not going to hold anything back. They're going to pull out all the tricks, do anything that they can to win or give their team an edge. So I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a fun game for us. It's going to be a nice back and forth chess match, and I look forward to the opportunity, the challenge that we're going to be presented with.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, and I think that again, a lot of people are excited to see Derrick Henry run that football again because of what
hmm
happened in Green Bay. A lot of people are excited Lamar Jackson is going to be back under center. So coming up in the final part of the show, we'll talk Derrick Henry, we'll talk Lamar Jackson, we'll talk a little bit more about this Ravens and Steelers game. So stay tuned. Got a lot coming your way here on the show. First, the show is brought to you by FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is our official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern to become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour always brings something new, boosts, bonuses, and surprises. It's easy to check the weekly special before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. And for the Denver Nuggets, I'm a big Denver Nuggets guy. I'm always looking on FanDuel to see what they have with Denver, especially during NBA Happy Hour. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Moving along, Locked On Ravens, Kevin Ostreicher and Ravens long snapper Nick Moore on this Saturday, talking Ravens Steelers. And Nick, I have to start because Maurice Jones-Drew, former NFL running back, played for Jacksonville,
Love it,
had a great career.
Mhm.
Well, if you love him, you're gonna love him even more after this,
Yeah.
because he on the NFL.com prediction piece for Week 18, all the analysts were asked to provide one bold prediction, and Maurice Jones-Drew's prediction was that Derrick Henry repeats his historic outing from last week this week and propels you guys to the postseason. And he said Henry has a repeat performance, 200 plus rushing yards and 4 scores to help clinch the AFC North. So
I love that. I love that.
It's huge. That's
Thanks,
huge,
bro.
right?
Yeah.
Like, look, I would love it. And we know that Pittsburgh has guys up front. Derek Carman's been a beast for them against the run, and he's been a really key part of their running game. But man, I'll tell you what, Nick, I think that the offensive line has played their 2 best games of the season over these last 2 weeks. I think they've gotten physical. I think that teams can't match that physicality. They've been getting out to the second level, sealing guys off. And not just them, but I mean, the blocking from guys like Charlie and Isaiah and Mark, like all the guys up front have made a huge impact. Patrick Ricard getting a hat on a hat. Like all of these guys have played that. So I think that, and especially with the way this rivalry goes, how physical it is. And we know that, Derek, when he gets going, he is impossible. I will say it, impossible to stop. I mean, what was it like watching him do his thing last week, and then hopefully him carrying that into this week? I mean, how big is it that Steelers have to key on him in such a big way?
Yeah, I think last week that man was cooking. He was 216, 4 tutties. That was one of the best performances I've witnessed in real time in my life, and it was crazy to watch, man. He was, every time he got the ball, like it didn't matter, 3rd down, 2nd down, 1st down, that guy was running. He felt like he was getting 20 yards a carry, and played great. Obviously, offensive line, man, they really answered the call the last 2 weeks. I felt like they've done a great job. Last week we rushed for 308 yards as a unit. And a lot of that credit goes to the blockers up front, whether it's the 5 offensive linemen, Pat, the tight ends, the wide receivers getting blocks. I felt like everybody was on their stuff last week and really played great. And obviously we'd love to repeat that same thing. Obviously with TJ Watt coming back and the guys that they have up front, it's going to be a challenge for them. But I have no doubt that they're going to try to do what they did last week. They're going to try to repeat it, and it's going to be a battle. And I know Derek. I know that man wants the football, so you don't want to come out. He wants the ball every single play, and rightfully so. He earned it last week. He played great. I think I think we continue to ride that out, and it makes the game great because clock is running a lot, and we're controlling. I feel like this game, Kev. I think this game to me, because it's a must-win situation. I feel like it's going to be a possession game. I think it's going to be few possessions per team. I think they're going to be, guys are going to be trying to control the clock, control the field position, doing things like that to try to, give their team whatever edge that they can. And, for us, that's running the ball. That's getting downhill, getting a hat on the hat, getting linemen up to the second level, getting the wide receivers involved in the blocking and running. That's our mantra. That's what we live by. And I think we saw that last week. We were going to live or die by that run. We were going to do, I know there's been guys have caught a lot of heat because of what happened at the end of the Patriots game and throughout the course of the season. And, I think last week they kind of just said, look, we're going to live or die by the run game. And credit to the offense, man. They did a great job with Snoop in there. And they played great. And I'm looking to see the same, I'd love to see the same execution and the same results going into this week. And, at the end of the day, it's going to be a fight. Everybody knows that. And I don't think there's any secrets. We know what they're going to try to do on offense, that they know what we're going to try to do on offense. And I think it's just going to be who can execute the best and play the best when it matters the most.
Yeah, and look, living or dying by the run, if that's what they do, which I think that they should, and they lose the game, I'll live with those results, because I think that, again, we saw, and look, it kind of helps when you hold the ball for 14 minutes in the first quarter of that Green Bay game, and it's just like
that was crazy.
They're like
was crazy work.
2 plays from the Packers or something on offense in the first quarter, that'll help. And again, the best way to stop an offense from scoring is just don't let them on the field. So
exactly. keep the offense on the sideline.
Yeah. That's a huge part of it. But you mentioned Snoop, and I want to talk about this with you because I think he's played admirably in Lamar's absence. And obviously Lamar's coming back, and I think that, again, like, that's a boost to the team. And I've seen a lot of people try to, like, tear down Lamar and prop up Huntley, or tear down Snoop and pop up Lamar. we can do both. We can prop up both guys here. Like, I don't know why we have to pit these guys against. I mean, they're like best friends. Like, why do we have to pit them against each other? No, like literally. And so, you hear all this noise about Lamar, Nick, with like all the reports coming out and the columns and the articles of like, people questioning his work ethic and falling asleep in meetings. And Lamar came out on Thursday and was like, hey, like, I don't know where this stuff is coming from. Like, you think Harbaugh let me sleep in the meetings? Like, come on.
Yeah.
But, you and I have talked about Lamar before. You've mentioned, your experiences with him and how incredible he is. But, for what he continues to face with all of this criticism, we heard like Kyle Hamilton, Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers all defend him to some extent this week. And I wanted to give you the opportunity to, kind of speak on Lamar with all of this new stuff that's come out, because I just think with everything that he goes through in terms of that, and this is not the first or the second or the third time, and you can go further than that, he's had to come out and like debunk something or like defend himself. It's weird because like you just don't see this treatment with a lot of players, but it feels like no matter what Lamar does and all the stuff that comes out of Baltimore is, he's a super polite guy. He's super competitive. He cares about his teammates. Like there's been nothing to indicate Lamar is like this bad person. I mean, it feels like he's a great person, and that's what everyone's talking about with him is like this weird questioning of work ethic and everything about him when I think is completely unwarranted.
Yeah, I think, Lamar, he ain't sleeping in the meetings. I'll tell you that. He sits front row. Ain't no way he's sleeping with Harbs. As energetic and mobile as Harbs is during the meetings, ain't no way nobody's sleeping in those meetings, all right? But no, Lamar, I mean, he's one of the most competitive guys I know. That guy, all he cares about is winning. He just wants to win football games. He's a great teammate. He's been, he's dealt with a lot of adversity this season with the injuries. Hasn't played his best football this year. There's been a lot of people coming after him because he has been so successful in this, in his career. I mean, he's got 2 MVPs in a matter of 6 seasons. Should have had 3. Honestly, what he did last year was absolutely incredible, and to have back-to-back seasons the way that he did last 2 years, it's been incredible. And when you're at the top, man, people are going to do that kind of stuff to you. And that comes with the territory. He's the $250 million quarterback. He's the face of the franchise. That's part of it. And he can handle that kind of stuff. I think at the end of the day, he knows that the guys in the locker room, we got his back, we support him, and we want to win just as bad as he does. And we go as far as he takes us. We kind of ride he's kind of the catalyst for our team. And, so for him, I think he's not worried about that kind of stuff. He's just got to go. He's just going to go out and do what he does. And I think he's going to play a great game this weekend. And, he's been nothing but supportive for Hunt, for Snoop. I mean, Snoop's obviously a lot more comfortable here. He's been here a long time. He's been in and out of the building over basically my entire career. We came in together in 2020. He was asked to play in 21, was asked to play in 22. And he came back another time. And then now he's back this year. And I thought he's been great. He played great against Chicago. He played great this past week against Green Bay. And him and Lamar go way back. I think they go back to like high school, maybe Pop Warner football down in Florida. They've been friends for a long time, and nothing's getting in between them. They know, like at the end of the day, they know that Lamar is the quarterback, and Snoop he knows his role, and he does it great. He does it admirably, and he does a fantastic job. And I love to watch it because they're like very similar guys, right? They play the positions the same, and they're very similar in that aspect. They act they're very similar in how they act and how they are as people and how genuine that they are to the guys in the locker room. And they both do a great job of commanding, the offense and the team. And it's been awesome to be a part of that. So, I'm looking for 8 to come back and do what 8 does. These are the games that make quarterbacks legacies. And I think Lamar's up for the task, and I cannot wait to watch him go to work.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. A lot at stake as we know everything. It's all the marbles for Ravens and Steelers, all the marbles. So I'm excited for it. And, hopefully, Nick, we maybe can even talk next week about postseason. Maybe I like the sound of that. I know you do too. So
I definitely do.
We'll hopefully get something worked out. But I appreciate you as always, Nick. Thanks so much for hopping on the show. On the way out, tell people where they can find you and what you're working on. I know still not on every social media platform, but he's on some though. So be sure to check him out. Where can they find you?
Instagram at Nick Moore 046. That's all I'm at. I'm on the Ripken show a couple times a week, and I'm here. I'm doing a lot of stuff. I'm in and around, beat bopping through. So check me out. Give us a follow there.
Yeah, right. Ravens long snapper and media personality, Nick
Yeah.
Moore. So be sure you go follow him. And again, you can catch him everywhere he is, including over here on Locked On Ravens. So, Nick, I appreciate you. Stay healthy as well, both injury-wise. I know there's also something with the flu going around right now.
Gotta stay away
sickness. So stay healthy, and hopefully the win comes the Ravens' way in week number 18. So thanks again. And thank you to everybody who watched and listened to Locked On Ravens today. Coming up, we'll have a pregame episode tomorrow. Watch along, instant reaction, and squad show. A lot of game day content and what will hopefully be a Ravens win. So stay tuned. Hit the like and subscribe button in video form. Follow along and subscribe in audio form. And I'll see you right back here soon on Locked On Ravens.